Hello, it's Kimball Willard here, aka Light Miser. This is the introduction to the sequences I'm going to be calling the cheap mechanic. I'm not actually a mechanic, but I've discovered over the years that if you get a good quality car and you want to do a little bit of grunt work on it, you can keep the car going for quite a while without having to pay out an arm and a leg. This car, I usually try to get my cars around 30, 40,000 miles. You get for fairly new cars, you get the best bang for your buck that way. The biggest bulk of the depreciation has been done by then, and you give them at a decent price. And most cars today are built to go 250,000 miles. So this car I bought off my father-in-law. Not a big Chevy guy, but it was a good deal that he offered me on it. It's now 150,000 miles on it. Done quite a bit of work on it, keep it going, keep it roadworthy. Started with the serpentine belt. One of the odd pieces on this series of vehicles is a serpentine belt that's on the side of the engine, not the front. And to get to it, you have to remove the driver's side front tire, remove the cowling, get up from underneath. Kind of a pain, but doable. It started squeaking, but the squeaking continued, so eventually I had to change out the idler pulley. Well, with this car, to change out the idler pulley, take off the serpentine belt after you've taken off the tire and the cowling. Then you got to take off the engine mount on that side and jack up the engine about 3 inches to get the bolt out and back in. It's kind of a pain, but got that done. We've had some sensors go out here and there on it. As a whole, it's been a very reliable car. Some things that I've got to do on it here shortly. This car has the tire sensors for let you know if you've got a flat tire while you're driving or if you're losing pressure. And on long trips, well, 1 or 2 will go out during a long trip, like 6-7 hour trip. And the batteries only last on those for about 5 years. So it's time to change them out. And I'll be dealing with that here soon. Had a check engine light come on that had to deal with the pressure system on it. And so I'll be dealing with that on a video here shortly. Some things I'll probably never get around to with it being the age of vehicle it is. This car has the front seats have heaters on them. The one on the driver's side doesn't work anymore. If I can figure out how to debug it and it's not too much, I might do something. I'll not hold my breath on that. My father-in-law, while he had it, this has an automatic opening tailgate. And he opened it with the back sitting partway out of his garage door, and it hit the roof of the garage, the opening area there, the stucco. It says some scratches on the back door. It's been there for a lot of years now. I'm probably never going to fix that either. But as I do different items of maintenance, I'll invite you guys along, partly so you can see me as I figure out new things, because again, I'm not a mechanic, but I'm good at researching on the internet, and probably to share the things I have learned over the years keeping cars going. Here in a few minutes, I'm going to go get my other car, introduce that one. It's newer to me, a little bit older than this car. This is 09 Traverse, but it's a fun little thing. You'll see. You'll get what I'm getting at here in a minute. So yeah, back in a sec. So here's my other car, which does seem a bit yuppie and pretentious. About a little over a year ago, we had a 2004 Mazda MPV. Again, we bought that about 40,000 miles. Shortly after we bought it, we had to get some front tires on it. Took to my mechanic, who informed us that of all the minivans made in 2004, that one was mechanically the worst one made. And we also discovered that the front sway bar was bent on it. At that time, you couldn't just buy the sway bar; you had to buy a whole new front end for it, which is like $4,000. And I wasn't going to put that kind of money into that, especially for a car that's mechanically the worst car made for that year. And the sway bar ended up staying bent the whole time we had the car, which was quite a while. It wasn't a big issue. The line, you could never get locked in. It would, shake a bit, but you lived with it. Well, a little over a year ago, we put our house up on the market, got an offer on it about a week and a half, 2 weeks after we got the good offer on it, and they're working on getting a loan put together and all that fun stuff. The head gasket went out on the minivan. And at this point, the minivan's got about 170,000 miles on it. Well, I didn't like the fact that it was the worst made minivan of that year to start with. Mechanically, yeah, it was a piece of crap. The front driver's side window actuator completely died on it 4 different times. They had to replace the whole mechanism. And just, one thing after another, kept dying on it, had a lot of replacements on it. And it was really, really starting to fall apart. And my love relationship with that vehicle had long since died. Well, did some research, as I always do, before I jumped to any rash decisions and conclusions on vehicles. To replace a head gasket on that vehicle, which I've done one head gasket on old Corsica, it's a whole other story. But to do it on that vehicle would take 24 hours. Now, when you're only able to work on a car at night and on the weekends, that's about 2 weeks of work. Where I'd be out of the vehicle while trying to pack up a house. Not a great situation to be into. Plus, we weren't looking for another house yet. We knew we would be. We were focused on getting out of the first house first, and knew we didn't want to go into a car loan with trying to close a mortgage loan after that. So a bit of a panic mode. Discovered that some neighbors of my parents used to live down in Arizona, and he had a car lot down there. And he's technically retired, lives here in Utah, but still has his Arizona dealer's license. And so he goes down to the car auctions once a month, picks up junkers, fixes them up, and sells them. So, we knew how much money we had. It wasn't a whole lot, about $1,500. And the one car he had that fit that bill was a '99 Acura TL. Never had a luxury car before. It fit the bill, definitely had issues, had 220,000 miles on it. AC didn't work on it. Just a bunch of weird little quirks to it. Again, it fit the bill. So we went ahead and got that, helped us get moved out of that house, and then started dealing with the idiosyncrasies of that vehicle. One of them was that the AC didn't work on it. Well, that might not be an issue for some people. We live in the desert. During the summer, it gets 115 for at least 2 weeks. Basically, think of Vegas. We're about 5 degrees different from Vegas at any given time. And it was a good learning experience. I got the AC working on that. Replaced the compressor, just learned a whole lot about AC units on cars. I figured going into it, if the car lasted us a year, I'd still be ahead with only $1,500 versus car payments. And right about a year, the first gear and transmission started slipping. Took it to a shop to see what the options were, where it was at. And that's a big fault on that car, that year of that vehicle. Trannies suck on them. And the first gear slipping is a sign that the tranny's dying. They got into it, and the tranny was going to die. He died quickly. They could do a rebuild on it for about $3,500. Well, it definitely wasn't worth that. You could put a used one in, and the cheapest one I found was $500, but that's got 200,000 miles on it, so who knows? It could last 2 days, it could last 2 months, it could last 2 years. No guarantee there. More likely 2 days. So started really trying to figure out what the options were. A buddy of mine, beginning of the summer, had, through another friend, found this car that its first and only other owner had driven this to about 95,000 miles, parked it in a garage for 10 years. And he found out, and so he bought it off him for a good price and placed the hoses on it, replaced the fluids, got it working in safe condition. His daughter drove for the summer. And about the time that my other car was dying, she was getting ready to go on a mission for our church. Can't have a car, wanted to sell it, make a little more money to help her go on her mission. And so they offered to me this car for a really, really good price. Yes, it's 97, 20-year-old car, under 100,000 miles. BMWs are known for their quality of engineering. Turns out these cars don't hold their values very well because when they get up there, parts are a little bit pricier versus like a Toyota. But they hold together. A month after I bought this car, I had to do a trip up north, 4.5 hours, or 4 hours one way, 4 hours back. And the cruise control is broken on this. I'm going to go through all the list of stuff I do to fix on it. Well, the biggest problem I had on that trip was keeping this car under 100 miles an hour. The highways here out in the middle of nowhere, Utah, 80 miles an hour is legal. You're not really keeping a good eye on it. This car will easily do 120. I would feel safe going that speed, if not faster. I just don't want it impounded. So, a couple cons about this car, because again, it is a convertible. There is no trunk space. It's that big. There's no storage space on this at all. Is this practical? No. I have a car seat in here with a 6-year-old. That's a bit of a pain getting him in and out. But he enjoys it. He calls it my speedy car because this has a 2.4 liter V6 and a very light frame. It wants to take off. It's hard not to take off. That being said, this car is a hell of a lot of fun to drive. So some of the things I need to fix on it. Cruise control, I'll be investigating that. Trying some cheap part swaps before I start getting too gutsy on it. Hopefully the cheap part swaps will fix those issues. Right when I bought it, the radiator was dripping. I found out that my buddy had the radiator replaced 2 weeks before I bought it. So I took it back to the same mechanic, and I could have dug through it, but I figured it was a loose hose clamp, which it was. I fixed that, no problem. 4 days later, I see some oil dripping from it. Did some investigation, and it looks like it most likely is the slave shift cylinder, which is hydraulically actuated, and it uses the brake fluid to do the hydraulic actuation. I checked the brake fluid, and it's totally contaminated, which is a sign of what happens when the cylinders fail. So, did more investigation, saw parts-wise what tools I had, not really me, my dad is at his shop, versus what I would need to get, versus what it would probably cost to have the cylinder replaced and the whole system, including the brakes, bled. I figured that whole, to take it to a shop, be $400 or $500, and I'm able to get all the parts for about $250. So I'm going to actually do all that myself, which I've never done any of that. That's part of what I'm doing this series, is showing that you, with a little bit of work, a little bit of investigation, you can figure out how to do these things, learn on the way, and save some money. And yeah, I'm going to occasionally screw up. I do. And it's fun to watch that. It's part of what it's about. So back to things that need to be fixed on this. The roof mechanism, when my buddy bought this, did work, but you had to help it along the way. And so I was told, this kids don't do it without me there to help you, and they did it, and it doesn't work anymore. I think there's a cross member bent on it, whatnot. So I need to get into that, but it's beginning of February right now, and yes, we are in the desert, and it's just freaking cold right now. So I'm going to wait till the end of March, beginning of April, when it starts warming up really well, because then if I have to have the top off for a few days, no big deal. I live in a warm desert. But I want to have it fixed, early to mid-spring, so I can do some good convertible therapy. With the other thing, we have to move the camera here for a minute. One of the things his kids did, screwing around at the gas station, made contact with a pole. So this piece here and just the raw black is $45. Probably another $50 for the turn light. These units are about 150 now. The original were 350. So I'm going to replace that, get that looking nice. Probably not going to deal with this here because it is still, 20-year-old car. I'm debating on this whether to have it painted. Probably be $60 to have that painted, just to totally guesstimate. But it might look cool in black. I don't know. We'll see what I decide to do there. Again, 20-year-old car, so it does have its scratches and its flies that way and all that. I'm trying to think if there's anything else major I need to do on this car. So yeah, of the Cheap Mechanics series up front, there's going to be more work going on this car than the other one. This is an older car. The other car is the Traverse of 2009. This is 97, so this needs some work done to it, but this actually has less mileage than my other car. My other car is 150,000 miles. This one, I rolled 100,000 miles a month after I bought it. And the nice part about that, usually I have one car that's good for doing travels with the family. The other car, it's more of a daily driver junker. I've actually got 2 decent cars right now. I've already taken this one up north. I'm taking it to California in a couple weeks. A little tight with the kids, and definitely can't fit all the family, but my older kids are older, so I rarely take them with me on big trips these days anyway. When I go to California, my wife has to work, so just me and the 2 younger kids, so we're going to take this car. Okay, yeah, so I can show it off to my friends, yeah. You got to play with it. What's funny is, I never took looking at me getting a BMW. It wasn't something that was in my wheelhouse, and part of that is BMW drivers, especially where I grew up in LA, kind of have a reputation of being pricks. And I'm starting to understand why. A friend of my dad's has driven Mercedes forever. And my dad was talking to him one time, but I was like, oh yeah, German cars are great engineered. I've driven BMW, test driven them, and they drive wonderfully. The problem is, there's so many pricks out there that have them, I don't want to be associated with them. And what I've discovered, and again, this is the only BMW I've ever owned, but this thing takes off. Just, I mean, even when I was driving up north, there's a big ridge, big grade. I was doing 80 miles an hour. Some cars were crowding up there, doing 80 miles an hour uphill, 4 people in the car with luggage, dropped the gas, and I increased velocity quickly and got around everybody. I mean, that's the problem, is these cars take off so fast, you just get used to that power and whipping around people and getting away from them, and so you drive kind of like an ass. And it's too easy not to. It just screams for it, and it's fun to do. Yes, I'm becoming a prick BMW owner. So be it. Let's see, what else I want to say about the car. Yeah, so that's about it. Like I said, I'll be doing, the first thing I'll be doing is the slave shift cylinder on that. That'll be coming up in the next couple weeks here. Never done anything like that before. We'll see how it goes. The nice part about it is I've got family and friends who actually are mechanics. I'm really good at investigating on the internet. And I got some good mechanics around here that I can go to if I screw things up too badly. So with that being said, yeah, like anything you see here, subscribe. If you want me to go into more detail on some of the stories, because I got a lot of weird car stories from over the years. More than happy to do a couple episodes on that. Probably will eventually anyway. But with that, have a good day.
I don't have any sponsors yet for this channel. I am a distributor for the Realized Food Company. They have not sponsored this channel at all, but since I'm a distributor for them, I can sell their products on my channel. The world has a need for proper emergency food supply. This food supply is not just for natural disasters, but also for financial emergencies as well. The Realized Food Company has made it possible for anyone to build an emergency food supply of good tasting, 25-year shelf life, freeze-dried food for themselves and their families for as little as $20 a month. If you'd like to learn more about this, please take a look at the link below.